Picture this, it's the 1980s and boating wasn't sleek or safe. It was daring, messy, and sometimes flat-out dangerous. The air smells of two-stroke exhaust and suntan lotion, and every kid on the lake is daring someone to try something a little ridiculous. Homemade skis, tube trains tied together with questionable knots, and even kids polishing chrome just to earn their next ride. Boating wasn't polished back then. It was raw, chaotic, and unforgettable. Today, we're reliving 16 boating activities from the 80s that kids simply don't do anymore. Some will shock you, all will entertain. In the 1980s, if you had a boat and a rope, the goal wasn't just to tow one kid. It was to see how many you could string along before the engine groaned. 3 ups, 5 ups, even full ski trains snaking across the lake were the ultimate bragging rights. Kids copied the formations they saw at Cypress Garden shows, though on a much wobblier scale. If you managed to stay upright, you felt like part of the US ski team. If you didn't, well, you created a human yard sail across the wake. Today, wake surfing dominates, but back then the social spectacle mattered more than the style. Half the fun was waving at the crowd on shore. Neon life jackets shining while secretly praying you didn't take out your buddy when you lost balance. It was chaotic, it was bold, and it was pure 80s boating energy. Now you think that was crazy? We've got kids launching off homemade ramps and even ski-less skiing coming up. Stick around and hit subscribe so you don't miss the wildest ones. Some kids in lake communities took water skiing a step further by dragging plywood ramps into the water. These homemade jumps, often floating on barrels, were inspired by the professional stunt shows everyone saw on VHS tapes. Launching off them wasn't safe, but that didn't matter. Teens attempted flips, spins, and the occasional belly flop, cheered on by parents holding bulky camcorders. Trick shows were another part of summer life. Families gathered on weekends to see who could toss a water balloon mid-spin or spray the biggest arc from a slalom cut. Of course, most attempts ended with spectacular crashes, but that was the point. It was slapstick entertainment before YouTube. By today's standards, no marina or lake authority would allow kids to tow ramps around, but in the 1980s, liability wasn't the first thought. It was simply part of the fun, a little risky, always memorable, and very of its time. If water skiing was cool, barefoot skiing was legendary. Kids who managed it instantly earned hero status on the dock. The technique was simple in theory. Start on skis, drop them mid-run, and suddenly you were skimming across the water with just your toes. In practice, most kids took one look at the spray in their face and crashed spectacularly. But that didn't stop them trying. Slalom skiing had its own 80s flavor. Every lake seemed to have a course of boys, and kids competed to see who could cut hardest without losing the rope. Spraying the dock crowd with a wall of water was considered victory. Modern riders might reach for a wakeboard or wake surf, but in the 80s, the challenge was speed, balance, and a willingness to get slapped across the lake a few times before you nailed it. Painful, absolutely. Worth it. Every single time. Before wakeboards hit the mainstream, kneeboards ruled the water. Kids strapped themselves into bulky plastic boards, crouching low as they tried to cut across the wake. The design was clunky, the straps often pinched, and wipeouts sent you cartwheeling face first into the spray. But if you managed to hold your edge, you felt unstoppable. Old-school slalom setups were just as iconic. Wooden skis still lingered in many family garages, their varnish fading but their legacy intact. Tow ropes burned your hands if you slipped, and handles were often heavier than they should have been. Yet kids lined up for their turn, waiting for that moment when the boat roared forward and lifted them onto the plane. Compared to today's carbon fiber boards and ergonomic gear, the 80s setup seems primitive. But back then, none of that mattered. You weren't chasing perfection, you were chasing fun. and that was enough. For kids in the 1980s, boating wasn't just about riding along. It often meant crouching beside dad or grandpa while they tinkered with the outboard. Engines back then were mostly two-stroke, carbureted, and sometimes temperamental. Mixing gas and oil by hand was part of the ritual, and kids learned fast what 50 to 1 meant. Spark plugs were cleaned with wire brushes, carburetors were adjusted by ear, and the pull start cord had a nasty habit of snapping back if you weren't careful. Getting the motor to fire up on a summer morning felt like victory, complete with a puff of blue smoke and that unforgettable oily smell. Today, push-button starts and fuel injection mean fewer kids even touch the engine, let alone fix one. But in the 80s, you picked up real mechanical know-how just by hanging around the boat ramp. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave you pride and greasy hands. By the 1980s, fiberglass boats dominated, but plenty of families still ran older wooden runabouts. That meant endless chores, and kids were often drafted into service. Bright work needed sanding, varnish needed brushing, and seams needed caulking. Hours of summer could disappear into the smell of marine varnish and the sound of sandpaper scratching away at mahogany. Most kids didn't love it, but there was a strange satisfaction when the job was done. Watching the wood gleam in the sunlight after all that work made you feel like you were part of something special. For many families, boat maintenance was just as much a tradition as skiing or tubing. Today's low-maintenance fiberglass hulls don't need nearly the same care, which is easier for owners, but means younger generations rarely touch a brush or can of varnish. Back then, though, if you wanted to ride in the boat, you earned it. Before stainless fittings became standard, chrome and brass were the jewels of a boat. Trouble was, they tarnished fast, so kids in the 80s often spent afternoons armed with brasso or flits and a stack of rags, polishing cleats, railings, and deck fittings until they sparkled. It wasn't anyone's favorite task, but parents insisted, and there was a certain pride when the job was finished. You could literally see your reflection staring back at you in the hardware. Friends arriving at the dock would notice the shine, and that made all the elbow grease worth it. Today's fittings are far easier to maintain, and most kids have never spent hours scrubbing metal in the hot sun, but back then it was part of the boating routine. Not glamorous, not exciting, just one of those chores that kept the boat looking sharp. Every shine was a rite of passage. If you thought polishing chrome was old school, wait until you see kids strapping planks together for homemade skis and even digging clams by hand. Keep watching and subscribe for more boating throwbacks. In the 1980s, if you wanted music on your boat, you couldn't just connect your phone. You had to install a cassette-deck, and often kids were the ones threading wires through cramped compartments or holding flashlights for their parents. Brands like Jensen, Clarion, and Sony marketed marine-grade stereos that promised to survive a few splashes, but half the time they ended up corroded by the end of the season. Still, when it worked, nothing beat sliding in a cassette of Madonna, Michael Jackson, or Van Halen and hearing it echo across the lake. Speakers rattled, tapes sometimes melted in the sun, but you didn't care. It was your soundtrack to summer. Today's Bluetooth soundbars make things effortless, but there was something charming about the crackle of a cassette spinning on the water. For 80s kids, finally getting that wiring to work was almost as rewarding as a clean ski run. Long before video games took over, kids in the 1980s often built and raced model powerboats. These weren't battery toys from a store shelf, they were serious little machines, gas or nitro-powered, sometimes tethered to race in tight circles, other times remote-controlled with a 2-stick transmitter. Hobby shops thrived on this culture, selling kits and parts to eager kids who wanted to tune their engines just like their dads tuned outboards. The smell of nitro fuel, the whine of the tiny engines, and the sight of spray kicking up from a boat barely a foot long was thrilling. Lakes and ponds became racetracks, and rivalries developed fast. Everyone wanted their boat to be the quickest, even if it meant tinkering all night in the garage. Today, RC boats still exist, but the communal races and mechanical tinkering that defined them in the 80s are far less common. It was boating in miniature, and it felt huge. In the 1980s, a surprising number of kids actually built their own boats. Kits from companies like Glen N or Clark Craft made it possible to turn plywood and epoxy into a working dinghy or skiff. Schools and youth programs sometimes encouraged it too, treating boat building as both shop class and a life skill. Families would test them on lakes or calm rivers, hoping the seams held and the boat didn't immediately leak. More often than not, a coffee can was kept on hand for bailing just in case. These small home-built crafts weren't always pretty, but the pride was enormous. Today, it's rare to find kids spending weekends with saws and varnish, but back then, building your own floating creation was seen as an adventure. Sometimes they even worked better than expected. Other times they sank fast, but either way, you learned something by trying. Not every kid in the 80s had access to a proper boat, so creativity filled the gap. Old oil drums, styrofoam blocks, and plywood sheets got lashed together into makeshift rafts. With enough rope, a group of friends could build a floating platform big enough to spend the day on. Some families even tied several together to create little island hideouts in the middle of a lake. Of course, these contraptions didn't always stay afloat gracefully. A poorly tied knot or cracked drum could turn a sunny afternoon into an unplanned swim. Still, that was part of the charm. It wasn't about performance, it was about building something with your own hands and seeing how long it lasted. Today's kids might lounge on inflatable islands straight from Amazon, but in the 80s, raft building was an event. You didn't just buy your fun, you made it. For some kids, buying store-bought skis wasn't an option, so they built their own. Articles in magazines like Popular Mechanics showed how to cut planks, bend them, and strap on bindings. The results varied wildly. Some skis worked surprisingly well, while others split or sank almost immediately. But that was the fun of it. Kids would haul them down to the dock, proudly declaring their creation ready for the water. First runs usually ended in spectacular wipeouts, but occasionally someone managed a clean pull, and that was legendary. Compared to today's mass-produced gear, homemade skis were crude, heavy, and uncomfortable. But they were proof of resourcefulness. The 80s had a strong DIY streak, and water ski building fit right in with backyard go-karts and tree forts. It was more about the attempt than the success. After all, even if the skis didn't work, the story always did. And if homemade skis sound wild, the last few will really surprise you. We're talking Polaroids on deck, crabbing with kids, and muddy clamming traditions. Don't miss it. Stick around and subscribe. Before smartphones and GoPros, the only way to capture boating memories in the 80s was with instant film or 35mm cameras. Families brought Polaroid 600s on deck, snapping shots of water ski runs, tubing wipeouts, and big fish hauls. The prints came out soft, sometimes with fingerprints or water spots, but they were treasured. Many family albums today are filled with those faded images of kids in neon swimsuits holding up catches of the day. Disposable waterproof cameras appeared by the late 80s, letting kids dive off docks and shoot blurry underwater photos. While today's kids can film high-definition clips instantly, the charm of a Polaroid was in its imperfection, waiting for the photo to develop, shaking it even though you weren't supposed to, laughing at whoever blinked. It was all part of the ritual. Those square, washed-out prints are snapshots of a boating era that feels a lifetime away. In coastal communities, crabbing was as much a summer tradition as skiing. Kids baited wire pots with chicken necks, tossed them overboard, and waited for the big reveal. Pulling up a trap full of blue crabs in the Chesapeake or Dungeness on the west coast was pure excitement. There was always the danger of a pinch, and most kids learned quickly to keep their fingers away from claws. Families often cooked the catch right on shore, turning it into a feast. For many, it was the first hands-on lesson in where food actually came from. Today, stricter regulations and shifting family routines mean fewer kids experience it in the same way. But in the 1980s, crabbing was a rite of passage in coastal towns. It blended boating, food, and family bonding into one messy, unforgettable tradition. The smell of Old Bay seasoning still brings those memories rushing back for anyone who was there. For families near tidal flats, clamming was a slower, quieter boating activity that kids embraced. Armed with shovels, rakes, or even just their hands, they searched for squirts in the sand that gave away a clam beneath. In parts of New England, the Pacific Northwest, and even Australia, prawn pumps were used to pull shellfish from the muck. It was dirty, sometimes cold, but always rewarding. Buckets filled slowly, and kids learned patience along with technique. Once the haul was in, the payoff came at dinner. Chowder, steamed clams, or fried fritters. Unlike the adrenaline rush of skiing or tubing, clamming was more about family tradition. It connected kids to the shoreline and to a way of life that felt timeless. Today, fewer families take the time to dig by hand, but in the 80s, it was a summer ritual. Muddy feet, sandy hands, and a meal you caught yourself. That was the magic. Towable tubes weren't invented in the 80s, but they became a defining activity of the decade. Families bought one, then inevitably tied it to another until you had a wobbly snake of inflatables bouncing behind a runabout. Kids clung on for dear life, shrieking every time the boat crossed its own wake. Crashes were half the entertainment. One wipeout could trigger a chain reaction, with half a dozen kids tumbling like dominoes into the lake. Back then, nobody wore helmets, and most life jackets looked like neon marshmallows, but that didn't matter. What mattered was surviving the chaos and retelling the story later. Today's tubes are sleeker, safer, and often designed for 1 or 2 riders at most, but in the 80s the philosophy was simple. The more kids you piled on, the more fun you had. It was wild, messy, and guaranteed to end in laughter. So there you have it, 16 boating activities from the 1980s that kids today may never experience. From barefoot skiing to Polaroids on deck, it was an era of risk, laughter, and memories that stuck for life. If you grew up then, you know the magic. And if you didn't, maybe you wish you had. Drop your favorite 80s boating memory in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more trips back through boating history.